Hello and welcome to another fabulous episode of Sit Downs with City Lifestyle Vegas Edition podcast. I'm Camila Solea Ray and I am your host for today's episode. And I have two people here to talk about a subject that is super fascinating because it's not only health prevention, it's life extension, quality of life extension. And I have here then today Jennifer Haas. She is the owner of Infinite Wellness here in Las Vegas, and her clinical director, Dr. Greg Oliver, the star.
Well, we'll see about that.
Of the day-to-day operations, right?
Well, I guess I'm the one who sees all the patients and makes all the medical decisions.
Yes, you are. But before we dive into the day-to-day and, why you do what you do, how people, what kind of people should come to you or look for the clinic, etc., I want to switch it up a little bit and start with Jenny.
Okay.
Because you started this clinic because of a personal reason, like you have a why.
Yeah,
I started this. So tell us about
clinic.
you, and your persona is very deceiving because you are a kick-ass in the jiu-jitsu world.
I try.
Right? So tell us a little bit about you.
So I do jiu-jitsu. I'm a black belt in jiu-jitsu.
Champion, please.
Champion. I did just win my last tournament in my class, in the open class that I did like 2 weeks ago. So I have been doing that for like 11 plus years. But I had come into some kind of issues where I had hurt my knees and I think wear and tear. And the doctor had explained like my knees were bad, I think when I was like 19. He was telling me they were not tracking properly. And so like the cartilage was wearing down. So fast forward, I'm still training all the time. And then I went to the doctor, got MRI'd, and they were like, well, you basically don't have any cartilage left at all. And so they were like, you could get a full knee replacement. And I was not wanting to do that at all, also because I wanted to keep training. So I got in contact with someone like through the wrestling industry. They gave me contact of someone in New Jersey who actually had a clinic, and they flew me out there and gave me stem cells in my knee. And
how long ago was this?
Oh gosh, the first time I went, I think it was like the end of 2021. So like 4 years ago.
You got your first stem cell injection on your knees, okay?
Yeah. And then I came home, and it literally takes they tell you about 2 weeks. And so tried to stay off it, didn't do squats or anything for 2 weeks. And then after 2 weeks, I noticed a lot of improvement. And so just based on that, like that was my first time getting stem cells at all. Like I was very hesitant at first. Mm-hmm. I had to do more research on it. I know that it was very popular in the athletic community, but I myself hadn't had any personal experience with it. And so, yeah, it was kind of doubtful, like getting this shot will help fix things. But I mean, I'm a believer now because I've been able to train consistently. I don't think it's 100%, but it's where I was at a point at one time where I couldn't walk. Like I hurt it.
Really?
And yeah, my son literally had to carry me up the stairs.
How old were you?
How old was I?
Yeah.
It was like, oh my gosh. That probably happened right before I became a black belt. It was the year I was brown belt. So maybe like 2022.
Okay. So what, 40, 39, 38?
Yeah, I think I'd turned 40.
So not being able to walk at 40.
Well, it was because I was injured too. And so I also wanted to keep training.
Yeah.
And so
because it's what you love. You're passionate about that.
Yeah. And so I probably would have been able to walk, but training would have stopped completely, at least for a chunk of time.
Okay.
And so getting the stem cells, I was able to give it like a few weeks off and then go right back to training. And my main thing was avoiding knee replacement surgery and avoiding surgery on it. I've talked to a lot of people who've had it. It hasn't improved their mobility or anything. And I guess I talked to a lot more people who had back surgery, and they always seem to turn out worse after back surgery than before. And so I was trying to avoid surgery at all costs, which I was able to do.
Yeah, and you never know what's going to happen when you go under anesthesia anyway, right?
Yeah.
So you got your first stem cell injection. how long after that did you decide to open Infinite Wellness here in Vegas?
Oh gosh, I think it was maybe like a year later because we had talked and we were talking about bringing the stem cells out to Las Vegas because I hadn't really seen anyone have a clinic out here, or where do you get them out here? And I know that the product was so good in Jersey, the company we use, and so yeah, we talked about it, and then we just kind of went full force into taking all the steps we needed to do to open it and get going.
Very good. And Dr. Oliver, has he been with you since the beginning?
Yeah, he's been with us since we found him, luckily, and he
You
has
found him.
stuck
Where
with
was he?
us.
Where was he?
Retired.
I was hiding in retirement.
Oh, you were.
Well, you know, I practiced my entire life. I'm from Indianapolis, Indiana, and lived there all my life, and have two grandsons who initially were born in Los Angeles. My son and his wife, they moved over here to Las Vegas, and my wife and I had decided to retire and move to Las Vegas because we just liked the vibe in the city and things that were going on. But one thing we decided was we wanted to be a part of our grandsons' lives. So, I mean, interestingly enough, from the time they were born in 2013 and 2017, we flew every month, once a month, to Los Angeles to spend 3 days with our grandkids. And when they moved here, we did that here. And one day I just said, you know, if I was going to work another 10 or 12 years in my practice, thought they'll be like teenagers. They're not going to want to hang with grandma and grandpa. So we moved out here. I sold my practice, moved out here. I still own a wellness center in Indianapolis and go back there now every month. But it was 2020 and COVID had everything shut down. And so my wife and I just kind of painted our house, stuff like that. But I got bored because my grandkids were just starting preschool and school, so they weren't around all the time. And I put an ad out, and some recruiter said, hey, we've got this practice. We're not really sure what it does, but they're looking for someone. And so I went out there and interviewed and said, I go, well, I'm kind of retired. I don't want to work full time. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. And they go, that's fine. And so we went to work and together, and it's been spectacular. Yeah. You know, I've done a lot of things, emergency medicine, full-time primary care. I built 6 urgent care centers. I did a lot of things like that, even entrepreneurial medicine type stuff. But so starting out a new practice again seemed like, well, this will be fun.
Yeah.
I was skeptical about stem cells. I mean, I knew about stem cells. I'd read about stem cells. But then I really started studying it. And I was like, I don't know. I hope this stuff works. And I started seeing patients. I'd done tens of thousands of injections in my career. So I thought, okay, this will be, you know, just an extension of that. And I started seeing some pretty spectacular things. At first I thought, they're just faking it. They're not really getting better. But they were getting better. We could measure it. We could see it. We could see their activity levels. Now, a lot of these patients I started seeing were kind of elite athletes. You know, we were seeing a lot of MMA fighters, boxers, arm wrestlers, bodybuilders, you know, world strongman competition stuff, and which was kind of fascinating for me to see all these people. And they were very healthy, but very injured. I call them the healthiest train wrecks around. You know, like Jennifer's knees, you know, she'd worn them out by doing a lot of physical training. And so these people had been doing that also.
Because that was going to be my question to you. She said she had no cartilage on her knee, or in her knee, whatever the preposition is. So are people prone to not have cartilage or to have... I don't know, because I'm not a jiu-jitsu or any athlete by any means. I like to work out. I used to be very heavy, and I ran with that. And I went to the doctor several years ago, still back when I lived in Brazil, and I had like really little cartilage on my knees.
Sure.
So how does that happen?
Well, in our knees, we have these little cartilage pads called meniscus or menisci. And, you know, you've probably heard of torn cartilages that athletes get, things like that. But there's several factors. Genetics play a role, whether your joints degenerate or wear out quicker than other people's. Weight plays a big role. If you carry around a lot of extra weight, you're going to crush and smash those cartilages.
Okay.
Then if you exercise on top of that, you're just rubbing them down, kind of like the soles of your shoe. As you wear them more and more, they're going to wear out more. And then other factors, can be involved: diet, general health,
posture.
Things like that play an important role. Okay, and just physical activity. If you're an athlete and you wear those joints more, you're probably going to have problems later on. Or if you've had previous injuries or surgery, it affects the mechanics of the joints. So, I hear that a lot. People say, my doctor told me I had 0 cartilage left. That's probably not exactly true, but what they're saying is you don't have enough to support your joints or to act as padding there. There are cases where the cartilage is totally gone and the bone is wearing into the bone. Those people don't function well. They're in pain all the time, and they really probably need knee replacement with mechanical joints. But we see a lot of people who have wear and tear, and we see a lot of people who are not athletes or prime athletic specimens. We see a lot of just general population, people who are out there, construction people. We see police officers and firefighters and teachers, executives from companies and secretaries from companies.
Like
and
regular people.
Regular everyday people who come in and say, my orthopedic surgeon wants to replace my knee or wants to do surgery on my shoulder, or my spine doc says there's nothing I can do for my neck or my back anymore, things like that. And so, I tell them about stem cells, and most of them opt to try it, and, we get excellent results.
Yes. Yes. And you told me, you guys, last time I went to visit you guys, you told me about a veteran that had been in pain for how long?
Well, I believe he was either in Afghanistan or Iraq. I think Afghanistan. He was sent to us by one of our other patients who is now in his 50s, who's in the greatest shape. I mean, he's like, he could compete with 25-year-olds on a regular basis. But he's a veteran, and he goes to the VA, and he referred this person to us who'd been blown up by an IED in Afghanistan. And his spine he had multiple surgeries, was in the hospital for a long time, and just is in pain every day, has trouble walking, getting around, can't work. And there's really, they told him, well, all we can give you is pain medicine. He didn't really want to take addictive pain medicine. So he came to our office. I felt bad for the guy because, he's just in misery. And I told him, I don't know if I can help you, but we have these stem cells. Stem cells are regenerative cells. When they are on the tissue, if they're on your skin, they can become skin. If they're on your bone, they'll become bone. If they're in your bone marrow, they'll grow new bone marrow. So they have the potential to become new cells, like the cells that they're in an environment with. So I did injections alongside his spine in the area where he's had surgeries, and his injuries were the most significant in his low back. I kind of said, listen, let's stay in touch every week and see how you do. About 2 weeks later, I called him a week later, and he said, I noticed maybe a little less pain. I thought, well, that's a good sign. That's a good sign at a week. 2 weeks later, his friend who'd referred him came in the office and said, hey, he was out in his driveway loading a truck the other day. He goes, I've never seen him do anything like that. I'm like, seriously? So now we know that he's had fairly significant improvement to the point where I think he's functioning a lot better than he ever expected to. Wow. And this is early. We're only a month out maybe on this.
And so how long does it take for someone to really notice change in their pain levels and their mobility and so on and so forth?
Well, it's variable. Again, it depends on their age. It depends on the amount of damage that's there. So the greater the damage, the longer it may take, and the less, they may have, I tell everybody, look, we're not expecting 100%. You're not going to become 18 again. That's not going to happen.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But I want to give them realistic expectations, and that's different for everybody. If I have an 85-year-old with worn-out knee joints, if I can get 10, 15, 20% improvement, I think that's a win, okay? And we get those patients. If I get a 28-year-old who had an injury, I might expect 70, 80, 90%. And some of them tell me they're 100%.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I believe them.
Under promise and over deliver.
Well, that's the goal.
Yeah.
I think it's not even promises, because I tell them this may not work.
Yeah.
But yet I think, in what I've been there with you 3.5 years now, something like that. And
Yeah.
I can count on one hand the number of people that it's like, we didn't get a positive result.
Right.
And I think
that's great data.
And I think in one of the patients, it was a knee, but I think it was not so much wear and tear as a mechanical issue that was going on in the knee. And of course, these stem cells aren't going to go in and move things around and shift your bones and mechanics. So I think when we don't see a result, it's not a regenerative problem. It's more likely the diagnosis was more of a mechanical issue than it was a wear and tear or wearing out issue or injury issue.
And before moving to Jenny, because I know you guys do other things than stem cell, and I saw her getting a stem cell IV the other day. So what is the IV recommended for versus the injections that are in certain locations?
Well, I'll give you a classic example. My wife. So my wife was having hip pain and shoulder pain and back pain, and I said, you got arthritis. We're at the age where you get some arthritis, and the exams showed that's pretty much what was going on. But maybe because I'm her husband, she knows me too well. She goes, "You're not putting needles in me." and I said, "Well, why don't we do an IV? Because it'll go to all those areas that are being affected. Stem cells are attracted to injured areas, trauma, damage, inflammation." So she came out and did an IV. And I told her, these stem cells will be active up to 5 months in here doing their work, recruiting your own cells, your own healing factors. So we did the IV, and nothing really happened at first. I kept asking her, "You notice anything?" "No." "You notice anything?" "No." But at about 2 or 3 months, she said, "I don't really notice that pain in my back and hip and maybe a little in my shoulder." But by 6 months, she goes, "I don't feel any of it anymore."
Wow.
And she was pretty much back to the activity levels that she was before. So then she was like, "You need to do this too," and it's like, and I probably need to. I'm giving everybody stem cells. And I'd had, in 2017, I had a anterior and posterior lumbar spine fusion. You said those don't work, but I was the poster boy for spinal fusion. Within 2 weeks, I was back doing everything before, and most people are off 3, 6, 12 months with those. So I responded really well, but the doc that did the surgery said, at the time I was in my mid-60s, he said, "You're probably the healthiest 60-year-old I've ever done this on." And a big part of it is, staying active, exercising, keeping the weight down, those kind of things. But, I do the stem cell IVs on people who maybe have multiple joint problems where one is not specifically a problem, but they don't want to spend the money for like 3 or 4 different joints. So we'll do that on them.
That's wonderful. I'm so glad people have that option.
Yeah, we get other people who say, "Can you do both my knees and give me an IV?" And sure, we can do that too.
Yeah. And so, Jenny, aside from the stem cell, what else do you offer that at Infinite Wellness?
So we offer a weight loss program. We offer Botox, lip flips, hair restoration. I'm probably forgetting a bunch.
Hormone
now.
replacement
Yeah,
therapy.
that's probably our biggest one.
NAD?
Hormone replacement, NAD. So female and male hormone replacement. The NAD. We do peptides as well. So kind of like everything under one roof.
So what is NAD is such a trend, right? A lot of people are talking about NAD.
It's becoming bigger and bigger. I think the peptides in general are becoming bigger and bigger, but NAD for sure is one that people are really buying into right now.
So what are the benefits of getting NAD IVs?
So I'm going to pass that one to Dr. Oliver because he can kind of explain what NAD is, because a lot of people don't understand what it is or why it helps. And NAD is something that has to be given under a doctor's care too. It's some peptides you give them to yourself. A big one is like the BPC and TB. It's called the Wolverine one, and it kind of helps regenerate. If you're working out every day, like it helps you to be able to do that and not be so tired. And injury prone, but the NAD is kind of a bit way more powerful. So
yeah, I know like a patient that you guys had, the NAD that you guys offer was a little strong for him.
Yeah, well, sometimes, unfortunately, even with stem cells, places will water it down or tell you're getting something, but you're not. I know one time my mom went to this dinner about stem cells, and then someone was telling her, yeah, they came to my house and they brought these stem cells in this plastic container. And I'm like, well, they're not stem cells because they're frozen in a nitrogen tank and they get injected to you within 10 minutes like that. So they're viable. So whatever they brought wasn't that, and they'll kind of say, oh, you're going to get cured. And I love Dr. Oliver's approach because it kind of takes the placebo effect out of it because he's giving them a realistic, like, let's see what happens, and so then they're not building their hopes up like this shot's going to cure me. Mm-hmm. They're actually seeing what results they're getting from it.
And you touched on an important point. So where do the stem cells that you guys use come from?
They come from the umbilical cord of non-vaccinated C-section births.
And where are they stored for you to have access to, like?
So when they come to us, they get stored in a nitrogen tank. And so they're frozen.
In your clinic?
In our clinic,
okay.
Yeah. And then when someone gets injected, we get them, thaw them out. Dr. Oliver has the warmest hands. I'm like, I can't touch it. Takes forever to thaw out. And then as soon as it becomes liquid, it goes into the joint, the IV or whatever.
Okay.
And we order them. So a patient wants stem cells. We order them. They're overnighted to us. We put them in the liquid nitrogen tank and then use them usually that day or the next day.
Yeah.
So these are fresh cells.
So do they come from New Jersey or?
No, I think it's in Tennessee that they moved the clinic to because it used to be in Florida. This stem cell company we get them from, and then they're frozen there. They get shipped in dry ice and they're tested. They've gone through because the owner came out to our clinic of the stem cell company and he kind of went through all the tests they go through and. It's so many tests. Like they get tested right when they get the umbilical cord, and then they get stored. And then once they pass the initial test, then there's like 10 other tests they go through before they can get processed out. So
to make sure that people are getting like real stem cells instead of one that are in plastic bags, right?
No, I think it's like I'm not sure about all the tests that John said about. They were just like different. To make sure there wasn't anything like harmful that would be in
some of the tests they do, the FDA requires that these cells, because really transplantation is what we're doing. We're taking another human being's cells and putting them in somebody, which is interesting because you'd think a question I had at first is, if I do a kidney transplant, I've got to give you anti-rejection medicine. So if I put the cells or if I give you the wrong blood, someone with the wrong blood type, you're going to react dramatically, could die from that. Yeah. So how come people aren't responding negatively to these stem cells? Because they are coming from another human being, with the DNA of another person. But interesting enough, all the literature and all the research and the scientists I've talked to are kind of baffled saying these stem cells, what are called mesenchymal umbilical cord stem cells, don't seem to cause an immunologic reaction in people. And I don't know, we've given thousands of these now, and I've never seen a fever, redness, irritation, anybody have any problem at all. But what they test for is they make sure there's not any or a minuscule amount of red blood cells in there. They make sure they're sterile. They make sure that they don't have any contaminants or things like that. That's why they take them from C-sections, so there's no contamination through the birth canal, things like that.
That's amazing. Mm-hmm. So let's just go back to the NAD. Yeah.
Sure.
Can you explain what's...
Well, the first thing everybody asks me is, what's that stand for?
Yeah.
Well, and then once I tell them, they go, well, I'll never remember that. Niacinamide adenosine dinucleotide.
Okay. I don't think anybody will remember that.
And so NAD is a critical molecule in our body's ability to produce energy and to repair itself. So we have all these molecular cycles going on inside our body, inside the cells of our body, and more particular, inside our mitochondria. Mitochondria are the energy factory. All the energy that's produced in our body is produced in our cells' mitochondria. And inside there are all these little chemical reactions, and NAD is one of the most critical for those processes to occur. So as we get older, we don't produce as much NAD. As a matter of fact, as we get older, we use up a lot of our stem cells. So we have stem cells, billions of them when we're born, but we use them every time we get cut or we get scraped or we break a bone. Our body sends stem cells, and so we use all those up and we quit making them as many. So by the time you're in your 70s, 80s, 90s, you don't have a lot of stem cells left. That's why you don't heal up very easily. That's why you don't repair very easily. Same thing with NAD. You lose your ability to make that much NAD as you get older. And so what we're doing is refreshing. We're giving this NAD, either an injection or an IV, to boost the levels, to get the cells to create adequate energy and to repair.
And so when someone goes and buys a package of NAD, which you offer, it's like 5 sessions, how often do they need to go back and get 5 more NAD sessions?
Well, if you look up dosing of NAD online, you're going to see it's like everything and everywhere. But technically, I think, what we do in most of these cases are we want to give a weekly infusion of a specific amount of NAD. And then after 5 weeks, we've felt like we've raised that level to a high adequate level in the body. And then at that point, you would go on a maintenance, which could be monthly.
Oh, okay. Got it.
And, the infusions, they'll take anywhere from 2 to 4 hours. We've been running them at 2. Sometimes, patients get a little flushed with that. So we could probably extend it to 3 or 4 hours. Yeah. But in some places, you want to give it slowly is basically what I'm saying. You don't want to just infuse it right in because that'll make people very, very sick. Yeah. It's a very powerful molecule that our body naturally makes. We're just giving it to you as a supplemental addition.
Very interesting.
Way more eloquently than mine. It heals your cells from the inside out.
I love that. I love that. You guys are doing awesome work here in the Valley. So Jenny, if you could tell us, how can people find you?
So you can find us. Our website is infinitewellness.info. We're on social media. We have a Facebook page, infinitewellness.lv, and I believe our Instagram is also infinitewellness.lv. So look us up. We're located right off of Durango and Sunset. Everyone knows where IKEA is if you live here. And so we're right across from the IKEA. We also offer... a lot of people will fly in from other countries. We've had people from England, China, Canada. And so we do like free rides to and from the airport if that's what they need if they come out of town. So.
Okay. And it's like a same-day trip?
They can do same-day trip. Some people will come in the morning, get their procedure, and then fly back out. It just kind of depends what works for them. Or some people will be here for the weekend, and then they want to get their procedure while they're here. And so
we had kind of blew me away. Professional athlete flew in from Dubai. Mm-hmm. He had a meeting here for one. I said, well, you coming here for like a week or so? And he goes, no, I'm coming to get the stem cells, and I'm going to have a meeting tomorrow, and I'm flying back out to Dubai.
Yeah.
Wow. And how long is that flight? I don't even know.
Oh, my gosh. That's
18, 20 hours? I don't know.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah,
that says a lot about your clinic and the reputation you're building here in town,
it does,
Jenny.
Which is really nice.
Congratulations on all that. That's
Thank
amazing.
you.
Yeah, very good. Any last tips for our followers, our listeners?
Can I say one quick thing?
Please.
Let me just tell you what. Being healthy and getting healthy takes time, effort, work, and probably a little bit of money. Okay, the average American pays little attention to their health, and there are certain things you have to do to be healthy. I like to tell patients, treat this like you're working at a sport. Okay, you have to do it on a regular basis. And we're just here to help people in any way we can to be healthier, to live longer, but not just live longer, really live better throughout their entire life.
And that is why they have partnered up, and I have partnered up with them, City Lifestyle, because we only bring the best in class to your door and to your screen. So thank you so much for being here today, Jenny and Dr. Oliver. It's been an honor. This is just the first of many because I find this subject fascinating. And I am timeless. And I want people to also, become timeless. And that, like you said, takes time, effort, and money, right?
A little bit.
Just a little bit. Okay.
We only get one body. So we got to put life in our years.
It's true that.
And be able to enjoy them.
True. If you like this episode, please share, and I will see you next time. Thanks so much for watching.